What is it that you love about what you do?
It is a challenging business, extremely challenging, also very interesting, sustainable, right? Widely food. I get to do during COVID. I'm lucky I wasn't in the Thai business or the shoe business, right? They weren't doing a bunch of business during COVID. So technology has always driven our business. We measure everything, and, how much time it takes to load up a truck. I mean, all that kind of stuff, because this business, it's all about efficiency.
Absolutely.
Some great mentors, and Veronica Piggins from Bank of America, we ended up working to the White House. They took me under the wing, and they were great mentors and gotten involved in the community, and they created a sense of giving back. And this country has been amazing to my family. We became with nothing to this country in 1967, and it's allowed us to flourish the hard work.
Are there things that you've learned, let's say, in your work outside of food that you've been able to bring into food and vice versa?
I feel like I take more out of this than I get, because I'm learning, from these amazing people, these amazing leaders. I don't know, I will never have the opportunity to sit next to.
So welcome to Crave, the IFDA Podcast. My name is Julian LeBlanc, your host for this series of great conversations with industry and non-industry leaders. The food industry is evolving rapidly, and so are its leadership challenges. Our mission with this IFDA Podcast is to help you stay ahead of the curve with fresh leadership insights and strategies. Before we dive into our exciting conversation today, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Cut+Dry for being our sponsor for Crave. And Cut+Dry is the nation's leading e-commerce platform, offering the seamless ability for distributors and their manufacturer partners to promote and sell more cases with our best-in-class operator user experience. Okay, here we go. I'm thrilled to welcome, look at that smile, Monsieur René Diaz to Crave, to the podcast. And just to give you a sense, and then I'll toss it over to René, René is the president and chief executive officer of Diaz Foods and is the president of Diaz Group. He's the owner and manager of Diaz Produce, Tortillas de Casa, Jose's Not Here Taqueria, and Tequila Bar and IFDA Holdings. So basically, you've got a lot on your plate. So welcome, René. Welcome.
Thank you, Julie.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, René. So I gave you, the kind of what I would find on your LinkedIn profile or on your website. But tell us, what is it that you love about what you do? What is it that you do? And let's start there.
I just enjoy what I do. And I think it's because every day is a different day. It's every day is like challenging, right? In distribution, there's never a day that's the same. Yeah, trucks break down, but break down in different areas. That's for different reasons. One day is sunny, one day is raining, and right. So it's just challenging dealing with people. I think the only thing I started when I was 9 years old, when we started grocery store, working at the grocery store level. The one thing I do this is the interaction with people, with customers, right, every day. Here I'm sitting at a desk. I interact with the people who work here, or what we call Diaz family employees, but I'm not interacting with customers. That's probably one thing I miss, but I enjoy my job. I enjoy dealing with people.
And there's lots of opportunities to solve problems in this business. To your point, if you like dynamic, if you don't want Groundhog Day, this is definitely the industry, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. One day we get a tariff, the next day the tariff goes away. One day it comes back again. It drives my people crazy. It is what it is, and you have to go with it, and you just be able to pivot at any moment. So again, it is a challenging business, extremely challenging, also very interesting, sustainable, right? Widely food. I get to do during COVID. I'm lucky I wasn't in the Thai business or the shoe business, right? They weren't doing a bunch of business during COVID.
No.
So it's just, I love this business. I grew up in the food business. I was 9 years old, like I said, working at a grocery store, mopping floors and bagging groceries in my grandfather's first grocery store. So it's in my blood.
And Renee, given that this conversation, of course, we're going to talk about our industry because we both love it and we want to help others and we want to learn from each other. But I also realize that you do other things outside of industry. Maybe just give us a flavor for some other passion projects. Like, for instance, as we're having this conversation, recording this, so when listeners, when you listen to this, the month will be done, but it's Latin month, to kind of promote, support. So maybe tell us a little bit about a few other areas that you're passionate about outside of everything you do in food.
I got involved with community involvement in 1989 when the Latin American Association was doing a fundraiser and we were asked to buy a table. Like, it was $1,000 on the Immigrant. It's a lot of money. And we did support the community. And then I just got involved in the chamber, Emory University, Center of Ethics, Georgia State University Advisory Board, Young Harris, and I'm emeritus, a board member now. My gosh, I said, no way, Leadership Atlanta, probably 30, 40 nonprofits. So at a very young age, at 28, 29, I started getting involved in the community. And I think I saw my grandfather for the first time do that when during 1980s, during the Cuban, the Cubans were brought in from Cuba.
Right.
And how the community got together to help them find housing and so forth. Right. So when I got involved, specifically mainly with the way, I had some great mentors, Ingrid Sunburst Jones from the Coca-Cola Company and Veronica Piggins from Bank of America. We ended up working to the White House. They took me under the wing and they were great mentors and got involved in the community. And they created a sense of getting back. And this country has been amazing to my family. We became with nothing to this country in 1967. And it's allowed us to flourish the hard work. And you have to give back. This is, like I tell people, the country I was born in is in Cuba, but the country I would give my life for, the United States of America. And you got to give back to the community that gave us so much. So not only am I involved, but so is my wife. We share different stuff. We shared capital campaigns. One is United Way, one of the largest ever raised, was $700 million for the year. Our children are also involved with my nephew as well. They each in about 2 or 3 nonprofits. My daughter, since they're like 8 years old, had a volunteer, which helped them, to get into University of Miami, which was extremely difficult. I never get in, but a lot of it is that, and they still to this day, at age 2019, still volunteer. Actually, 2018, when it would be correct. Cool. They volunteer. My son volunteers. They're on board of directors of nonprofits. It's just our sense of getting back, not just to the city I live in that I call home, but it's the country, and that's getting us so much. And I think it's something that we should all do, and not forget, that we live in a very it's not privileged the word I'm looking for, but we're in a very blessed country. We had everything, and we would protect that.
Are there things that you've learned, let's say, in your work outside of food that you've been able to bring into food and vice versa?
So when I'm in these nonprofits, sitting next to Oz Nelson, who was chairman of UPS, that took it public, right? Or the CEO of Bank of America, and his amazing leaders, right? And sitting next to them and watching them work, I would tell these nonprofits, my gosh, I feel like I take more out of this than I get, because I'm learning, from these amazing people, these amazing leaders. I don't know, I will never have the opportunity to sit next to. I remember one of my first United Way board meetings, I was 31 years old. We're doing, gosh, $20 million a year in sales. And to my right is Oz Nelson. He's getting ready to take UPS public, right? And got all of the domains. The chairman of the board of First Union Bank was to my left, and next to him is the chairman of the board. I think it was Wachovia at the time, so competing banks. And here are two chairmen, and they're working together, all right, for our community. So I got to see all that, and I got to learn so much from one. Take away from it, amazing everything I learned, I suppose. So I will say that I feel like I took more out than in what I did.
Again, we've got young listeners here that are trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to have impact? How am I going to forge a career for myself? And I think this is fantastic advice. Like, I love that it started with your grandfather. You saw that. So actions speak louder than words. You did it. Your kids are doing it. And here we are talking about this saying, if you haven't done it, do it, because the positives are so immense. To your point, you learn from others, you build a sense of community, pride, you give back. So as much as you're giving back, like, it's a very selfish endeavor as well. I mean, right? In a good way. Right?
And again, just to help these kids to do it. Like, when I graduated from Marist High School, everywhere I applied, I got missed out. But I went to study business. I kind of was forced to stay at home because of our work. He just opened up Diaz Foods. So I ended up one with Joe State. And I got a scholarship. One of my professors puts in for me and gives me the food broker's scholarship is $1,000. And this is 1981.
Oh, yeah.
I paid for my whole year at Georgia State. And I didn't ask for it. And it was a big deal. And I didn't realize how important it was, right? And I didn't realize back then that food, I was going to be into running a food distribution company, or anything like that. But it makes a difference, changes people, right? Especially at a young age. And that scholarship may just open my eyes as, wow, people are noticing me. I must have something I don't know I had. And I need to get back because they just invested $1,000 in me, right? So I need to perform. But giving, so we do scholarships for kids, internships, and mentor the next generation of great leaders of great Americans.
Find places to have impact that you're passionate about, whether it's sports, whether it's culture, whether it's arts, could be anything. And it's amazing the people you meet, because as long as you're doing it for pure intent and you're not going in, I'm going to network and get my next job, you will literally get your opportunity to invest in something. Someone else might hire you at one point. And you'll find this fascinating, René. The feedback we're getting with this podcast is what we've tried to do is 70% of our guests are people from industry, right? Leaders like yourself. And then we're kind of doing that 20 to 10% is like, we've had, a Navy admiral, we've had someone that used to work at Disney. And people find that fascinating because they say, geez, what Disney's doing there 100% applies to us as a distributor or an operator or manufacturer. And so maybe this is a good bridge to build. So we've talked a bit about giving back. It's clear that you're very passionate about it. And I think we've got a great call to action for our listeners. Let's talk about the culture within your building.
It happens not even over years, happens over decades. There's people that trust, you're building trust in people. It can also be torn down in a matter of days. So you hire the wrong manager that comes in and navigates us from where our culture is, right? Of empathy, understanding, also discipline, consistency, right? Say, yes, I can do it. Say, sorry, no, start, yes, we're action driven, and change it to a different direction where we're more chasing the order, chasing the sales or whatever. That individual, which happened to us years ago, that had changed our culture in a matter of weeks to regain that culture. So culture is extremely important in any organization. It can be destroyed. It could take decades to build, it can be destroyed in a matter of weeks. So it's very, very important. And to me, culture is the people I'm working with. But it's also the messaging, right? And listen, we're in business abroad here to make money, right? But put out there, your mission isn't we want to make the most money something true, right? Someone really does that. For like a reminder people, but we have to make a profit or have a job. But can we do this with respect? Can we do this with empathy, right? Understanding the customer, understanding our people, right? So to me, I always say we can be strict, you can be disciplined, but have empathy. Zero tolerance for insubordination, zero tolerance for traps in the workplace, or zero tolerance for people bringing weapons into the workplace, right? Or threatening other people. So empathy doesn't cover that. Empathy covers, hey, listen, your grandma was ill and you take a few extra days, so forth. You have baby, every employee that has children who, or their spouse has a baby, we send them dinner to their home. And that is only because when my wife and I and my daughter Julia was going back to America, when we got home from the hospital, the next morning there was a big ass tray, this big of lasagna. and it was from Itzy's, and it was already cooked.
Right.
We had lasagna. It was like 20 pounds. We have lasagna for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for an entire week because you're not sleeping. No. Hey, if you like that, stay. If you don't, we understand that too. But this is how we roll. So empathy is super important for us. Culture, I would say this part was culture. The organizational culture, we are made of so many different people. African-American, white Americans, white Hispanic, brown Hispanic, black Hispanic, all right, Jamaicans, which are Jamaicans, but their skin color may be really dark. One of my best employees from Africa, his name is Sunday, but his challenges as a gentleman from Africa are very different than someone that were born into this country. We all have different challenges, but when we bring to the table is culture. And I think that's what makes us also kind of unique, sort of like in the U.S., when you have so many different cultures, right, together, and you blend them together, and we're sharing things, we become very, very unique. I always say, I'm introduced, I do my speeches. People ask me, or they introduce René Diaz and Diaz Foods, so like they get to join you. Then I get up and I say, well, I'm kind of complicated. I'm half Cuban, half Lebanese. I was born in Cuba, but I held my dad's hand, and so he passed away, and he was a cowboy in Cuba. He was a Lebanese. That's not a Cuban trait. That's not a...
No. Right.
But he was a Middle Eastern. My grandfather left Lebanon in 22. It was my grandmother, my aunt, my oldest aunt and uncle. My mom was born in Cuba, and they fled. They left because after the Ottoman Empire was defeated, World War I, they were to travel, and it was French occupied. So they left in Cuba of Christian descent. But like I told people, the first language I ever spoke is Spanish. The language I choose to speak is English. The town I was born in is Placeta. The town I call home is Atlanta.
Right.
The country I was born in is Cuba, but the country I would give my life for is the United States of America. But I only ask one thing, that it changed for my life. All right? So let me keep a piece of my culture.
Yeah.
Let me keep a part of my Cuban culture, which is white rice, black beans, or roasted pork. Let me keep part of my Lebanese culture, which is stuffed cabbage leaves, stuffed olive leaves, right? Hippie. But then my wife is half American, half Mexican. Let me keep part of that culture too, right? But my hot dogs, don't you freaking...
Yeah.
And then culture kicks in. Let me share that with you. So Thanksgiving in my house, it's a turkey, which my brother-in-law does, sometimes bird, right? It is pork, roasted pork, or a whole hog, sometimes I do it, whole pit, rice and beans and enchiladas and French beans. That one I tried to figure out was kind of, my brother-in-law was that. But it's a whole buffet of different foods and different cultures, blends it together. You know what you call that? America.
Yeah.
You know?
Beautiful. Yes.
Yes, let me keep that piece so I can share it with some great French Canadians.
Yes.
That's food, because I am in the food business. So I gravitated back to food, and about every baker's special about your culture and your food, and how do you cook your black beans versus my black beans.
You can literally feel your passion for, well, first of all, for food, for culture, for people. I love that we talked about empathy. I love that we talked about non-negotiables as well. Though in culture, there's certain things to say, look, like that's a non-negotiable. That's not up for discussion versus other things. Let's have debate. Right? So 2 things. I definitely want to get invited to your house for the live part 2 podcast because I think that'd be fascinating. There was a fascinating commercial here to celebrate Canada's 150th that was done by Loblaws, the biggest retailer in Canada. And I'm going to send it to you, and you're going to absolutely love it. And for our listeners, basically what it was is it starts off and everybody's disconnected with technology, and, mom comes home and kids are on the phone. And then she says, enough of this. And they live in an apartment building, and she takes the table and she puts it in the hall and she starts knocking around and invites people. And then there's this beautiful song. And then by the end, there's a long table. You see all cultures represented eating food. And you literally say, right, that's what food does. Food connects. Food transcends. Food, you should be able to have those conversations. And, as we have challenges in America and Canada, around the world right now, the one thing food does is it brings people together, doesn't it? Around the table, huh?
That is what Thanksgiving really is. Yes, it's saying thanks, but it's also breaking bread with your neighbor. the people across the street, at the hallway, right? And bring them to your table.
Talked about food. Let's now talk about partnership, because you do not build what you've built unless you've got, whether they're suppliers, manufacturer partners, technology partners, relationships with, municipalities you do business. So let's just talk around, what's your view around partnerships in 2025? Where do you see it going? And how does that help you build what you've built and where you want to take your businesses moving forward as well?
Yeah, well, we opened our distribution center in 1980. So we got into the virtual business as a 7 distribution by community. It was true partnerships. Ultimate Foods, which lived just down the street from here where we are now. We had a little store in 1980. I'm sorry, 1970. And the laundromat next door burned down. My grandpa had insurance. We only owned it for 3 months. Mr. Ultimate himself came down and Handshake gave my grandfather $2,000 credit. All right. So you need to start the business. 2,000 is like getting someone $20,000 today in grocery, right? On a Handshake. Today, that doesn't happen. That's true partnership. It's unfortunate that we've got so busy, it's become transactional versus relationship based. So whether it's vendors or customers, of course we try. But at the end of the day, it's just, and maybe we've gotten too busy. And I think COVID just accelerated that even further because we became more isolated. Defending for ourselves, right? If you're wearing a mask, I don't want you in my house. Stay away from, I'm going to stay away from you. If you either coughed, please in the ring kind of deal, right? So I think that just made it worse. So true we do have partners, don't get me wrong. But the real partnership that I saw in the 80s and the 70s and the ones my grandparents grew up with, when Handshake, you go into a bank and it's Handshake. They knew your name, knew their name, and you stay with that bank. Like we stayed with Bank of America when it was CNS Bank, then Nation Bank, and then Bank for 50 years. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's all transaction, which is a little bit sad, but I understand. Then you have partnerships within the company, right? And what I call that is our Diaz Foods employees, family employees. And, some companies don't hire friends or family members, or they don't hire, like if you come to work here, Julian, they won't hire your wife. And to me, that's kind of like, doesn't make sense, because how about if you start working at it and you marry someone, you fall in love with someone here, like, and you're both great employees, that's a priority one of you guys, right? Or you're not my friend, I've never met you, start working for them, we become great friends. So what does that mean? That's for you to get to one of our friends. So I don't try to manage that component of it, but what I found is that we have employees here that have been here since employee number 2, employee number 3, employee number 4, all right? And they're still here, people that put in 30 years, 35 years. I've got young people that started getting when we were 19, 20, and you're 40, 45.
Amazing, right? You've seen the life, yeah, wow.
Team members, right? I didn't know them. They came to work here, and now they're my friends. They eat at my house. So there's that partnership, right? So it's just, I think it has changed. I mean, I remember in 1980, when we got started, we sold only carried to all the grocery stores. And my father to a lot of the Mexicans that owned restaurants. They're kind enough to allow me to go into the back of the room and see what kind of rice they were buying and beans. And I remember going there and writing down rice and food, Arkansas, bet on beans in Colorado. So I called Rice and Food in 1981, little, 18 or 19-year-old kid, one verse stayed at night. And I said, hey, I want to buy rice. It's sure, you got to go to the broker. I think it was Boston Food Service at the time. And I didn't know any better. So I got a little hippie man that we
Of course he did.
My dad and a check and went up. So my God, buy rice direct. Here's a check. We go over there and show up to a broker office out and receive rice. And the man by the name of Gene Robbins comes up to me. Huge man. I mean, the strong World War II veteran. I mean, he was probably 65. He shook my hand, probably crushed my little 18-year hand. And he goes, son, I'm up here to buy rice for you. He goes, son, we don't have rice here. But they told me to go out of the broker. I didn't know what it was. But long story short, I'm pretty sure he guaranteed let that order. Because here's my check. If you can't take the payment, go. I didn't fill a grant application, nothing. Imagine that today, right? Does not happen.
Doesn't happen.
So this man pretty certain guaranteed my first order. But next thing I knew, I'm thinking up 4 pallets of rice down south and up by the airport. That to me is partnership, and that's instead it doesn't cap them out.
And do you feel that, so obviously this is part of the, Crave is the IFDA podcast. And I know that you believe in associations being part of something, maybe whether that's where you form partnerships, go to learn. Tell us a little bit about how you've leveraged or given back to something like IFDA, for instance, and why is that important, whether you're going or sending team members, or because to me, that's a bit partnership too. I was just in Columbus. It was fantastic for the Distribution Solution Conference. And what you realize is even though there's competitors there, it's a bit of an abundance mindset. It's not scarcity. Like there's enough business for everybody because every business is so different, right? Like you offer something different than even maybe someone else that's part of the IFTA community. So I'd just love to get a few thoughts around that from you.
And you're right. We're in similar businesses in a way, but very different in other ways. But we share the same type of challenges, whether it's capital raise, human capital, all right, or quality of human capital, right? Dealing with weather, trucks, it's the same thing. But we share experiences together, and not just work experiences. We travel together as friends and so forth. What we also take away of our plate is education. Again, I can educate you in how I do business here, right? I can't educate you what other folks are doing. I need to learn and then so much more. So again, like when I joined United Way, the leadership at Atlanta, and I learned from those amazing people, right? I learned what it is for healthcare, all right, or people that are challenged for shelter or for food. Our folks are learning, things like what is the demand for rice, or beans, or oil? What is the commodity market to market the oil right now, things like that. So those organizations offer a lot of education to our people. That to me is a great partnership.
Man, it's almost like we rehearse this. I love how the funnel just keeps going because I love that partnership do turn into friendships when it's well done. Because if you like each other's company, it doesn't mean you're not negotiating, doesn't mean that you're not putting stakes in the ground. And then you get a phone call, right, to say, hey, or these are people that you don't compete against, but you can learn from, to your point, because they have different cultures. They have different background. This is a bit of crystal ball. So we'll have to listen to this in 5 years to see if we're right or wrong. But where do you see technology taking the food distribution business?
I was writing the code in 1977, 76. But by that time, I was 5 years or 6 years behind the Bill Gates of the world and so forth. So technology for me, it needs it. In 1981, we were selling $400,000, $500,000 a year. And I realized that it was unsustainable, our growth. But I was still going to school at night unless I automated, right? So I started with technology. So technology has been embedded in our DNA since 1980 because I grew up with it in a sense, right? I was not afraid of it. And then it went on and on. And then it got stale, right? In the late 80s, we started doing our own we call them key indicators, key performance indicators. We had, before Excel existed, we called them the black books. All right, they did queries in the S400. So technology has always driven our business. We measure everything, and how much time it takes to load up a truck. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Because this business, it's all about efficiency.
Absolutely.
As far as what technology is growing now and in the future, people talk like AI and AI is revolutionary. Yeah, there's certain things. At the end of the day, there's so much you can do on the robotic side, and my business here. I'm not saying food service in general, because I do both grocery, which is retail like the stores, and then food service. So I sell little bitty bags on this big. They bring 24 1-pound bags of beans, but I also sell 100-pound bags of beans to the restaurants.
Right.
Case of 12 ounce vegetable oil, and then I sell a 35-pound vegetable oil to the restaurant. So how you take is different, how you load is different. And restaurant would buy 10 cases of oil, let's say 610 tomatoes, 610 jalapenos, 610 mushrooms, but they're all the same size. So I can build a pallet that looks uniform and beautiful with 5 different types of product. Retail is different. Retail, a pallet may have 50 different types of items because they buy onesies because it goes on a shelf. Yes. So how you pick, how you pull, how you wrap, Very, very different. So robotics will be challenging now. With that said, which we're looking at, we're using robotics to take inventory. That absolutely we're going to be doing. That we'll be doing using AI. We've always done analytics here, and we divide our business cross section. If we're selling protein, we look at it not just as a category, but that category within every type of division: food service, grocery, and then meat division. All right, and then the percentage, because our margins are for our meat division, it's much lower than for our grocery division, and much lower than, and our food service actually has the highest margins. Right. So it's the same state as different margins because of quantity. If a carniceria will buy 20 cases in the same product, a restaurant will only buy 20 pounds of skirt steak, right? So there's price differentiation because of quantity on that. So analyzing that data. So we do a lot of that, but what we get is what I call a flat line data, right? Which means here's the case that you sold with this product. Here's your average selling price. All right, like an Excel spreadsheet, very flat or linear. What we're working on now internally with AI is getting that data. We have the data, and right. So we have it, but now I need it to analyze it. Yeah. Tell me using a calendar, using type of customer, right? The day they purchase, the time of day they purchase, right? Or the season, right? What I can, how much should I be buying? What is the right price? It's an advantage and a disadvantage. We have 3 warehouses, one in New Jersey, one in outside Washington, D.C. in Atlanta. Will become 29 states from that.
29 states, got it.
And I'm saying, so when we deliver in Arkansas from here, that bag of rice, it's got to be more expensive because we have more miles to cover, right? But our salespeople mark it up themselves. So give them a guide. Say, okay, for every 100 pounds, maybe you should. So using AI to direct, in direction of the right price, but to, and not influence, but to suggest like a pricing strategy for different areas based on distance, based on quantity, based on the brand. In retail, we have 10 different brands for white beets, right? Yes. And each had different values. So all that stuff that it would take us days to happily manually, right? I mean, we can do an Excel spreadsheet and say, white beans, we sell X amount per day, or what's the average divided by 5. It's spelled that, and it's easy. But identify the type of customer, when they're buying, who they're selling to, identify that, that Julian, you sell the same rice in Arkansas, I sell the same rice in Arkansas, but you're marking up $1 more than me. And, and we both work for the same company. Right? Why am I $1 cheaper? Well, but maybe it's because I'm using it as my cross leader to get into that customer. That customer is a restaurant that does a lot of rice dishes, while the other one's an Italian restaurant that doesn't use that much rice, right? So that type of analytics, using AI for that. And that's what I see for us that we use. And the most important one is Tom Stanley. Tom Stanley passed away 2 years ago in a fire accident. He wrote the book, How to Be a Millionaire Next Door, The Millionaire Mind.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes, of course. Yeah.
So
Sorry, I didn't realize he passed away in an accident a couple of years ago.
Corvette, he was collector of classic cars. Corvette and got T-Bow here.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Professor for strategic marketing.
Okay.
Amazing.
Wow.
I walked into his class first day, and I'm still working. I'm working at Diaz Foods. All right. I smell like garlic and cumin and going to restaurants making deliveries, and I showed up late. Every day to class. That day I got in. It was 7:45 evening class. It ends at 10:45. It's a 3-hour class, Mondays and Wednesdays. So I get to Monday, first day of class. He's already lecturing. Again, my mother taught me manners and ethics, so I'm not, even though I knew it was in the right place. And excuse me, professors, is this strategic marketing 301? He looks at me and goes, no, it's Espanol. So I say in Spanish, perfecto, profesor. I keep coming late, and I wait every day. So halfway through the term, Tom Stanley goes, if there's anyone that's going to make it, be hugely successful, to be René Diaz. And I was sitting, but this time I was sitting in the back, was all pretty, I was seeing all the pretty girls were telling me, women were telling me, smell like dogs, so I had to go to the back. So friend of mine that I made friends with the class goes, that someday goes, oh, he's going to be, if anyone makes Billy René. And he goes, it's because, and if someone has a why, it's because he's consistent, right? So by coincidence, the following 2 days later, I show up on Wednesday class. I happened to show up about 30 minutes early. So lucky. So I could end, the guy next to me, my friend says, Professor, René just blew away your hypothesis.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, why is that? Because look at it. He showed up early. And he turned around and he goes, you don't get it. And you know what? I didn't get it either. 15, 17 years later, I'm writing a speech for 500 Hispanic kids who are receiving scholarships. And I'm writing about that. And when I write it, I realize he never said I was consistently late. Yeah. That I was consistent. Yeah. I go, what? It's because I showed up every day. There were days, Julian, that I would show up to school at Georgia State at night, which was dead. I mean, downtown isn't flourishing like, New York or Miami, all right? Not that especially. I would show up at 10:30 for a class that started at 7:30 and at 7:05. I never missed a class. He goes, he just meant that I was consistent. Yeah. If you look at what house, it's because you're consistent. McDonald's, consistency. And like I told one of my employees, you want to keep your job? Show up to work. 80% showing up to work. That's it. So, it's Tom Stanley, it's Father Hardnett, my grandparents' parents.
Hey, look at the power of mentorship. Can you imagine Tom Stanley, the arc of people that have been successful as a result of whether they've read his book, followed his doctrines, been fortunate like you have to be in a class? It would be an amazing pyramid to see, huh?
Oh, incredible. I mean, in every speech I make, Tom Stanley is in it.
Thank you for sharing the story and to all our listeners as well, because I guarantee you some people are going to pick up the books if they haven't read it. And I'm going to go back to my bookshelf because I remember the impact it had on me. And, he was onto something big. I'm going to share this. I've got a big healthcare client and they did one of the biggest employee engagement surveys they've ever done. So this is global. They're in like 95 countries. And what they did is they said, choose the word to describe what you want from your boss. What's the one thing you want from your boss? And they had stuff like being recognized, being promoted, being paid. And one of the word they had was consistency. And, it became, after the survey, that was the number one thing people wanted from their boss was consistency. And people even had fun with it because you could add a comment, even if you're bad. Because I can go to bed Sunday night knowing that Monday morning you're a terrible boss because who knows what you do on the weekends, but you're terrible. What I struggle with is if, Monday, hey, Jules, how is swimming with the girls or how is tennis? And then the next Monday you blow by me like I don't exist. The third Sunday night, I'm not going to be able to sleep, right? Because René, I'm like, don't you see me? And so, man, Tom was onto something there. And I love that we're talking about consistency because I think as leaders, here's my call to action to all our listeners. Are you consistent? If you're not, figure a way on how to be that. So why don't we finish here? Is there anything else we didn't talk about that, it's just on your mind? Maybe you said something that you'd like to go deeper. Maybe I said something that you'd like to respond to, or maybe just final thoughts around the industry and what you do. So I'm going to kind of leave that open to you. Is there something else on your mind that we didn't cover that you'd like to share?
A couple of things. I don't want to get too political, but the first one is, I think you asked one of the questions on me, like if I had a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I think I came up with 4 or 5. One was just action. Just do something, right? The other was yes. All right. I don't like when people start with no, I can't do it, or no, it's impossible. Just, yes, I can. I'm not showing nothing to bum about it, but just yes, right? Possible, not impossible, right? And again, everything is possible. My son was born at 26 and a half weeks, no lungs, and now he's bigger and taller than me in 1992. Now he was getting a 1% chance of survival. And the Dr. Price, who saved his life, Dr. Price saved his life, said someone spoke to me and I felt that I had to save his life at 2:30 evening. So everything is possible. And when he was born, he would have already passed. He should born back. I mean, so everything is possible. Wow. Answer is yes. Yeah. I agree. Yes, I can do it. Yes, it's possible. And take action. Those are things. Political side, I will tell you, if you're Cuban, you're Republican or conservative, better said. But I always look at the white person, right, who's right with the country. And I always say this to people, the in this country, we have many rights. One of them is the right to burn flag. You know how you protect that? By not burning it, right? You don't burn the American flag. You honor the men and women that you fought to be able to hang that flag. So protect that right to burn it by not burning it, by celebrating it. Why? And that goes to Democrats, goes to Republicans. Today, I see such a divide that this is not the America that my parents bought into the 1960s. So that's it.
Well, listen, man. First of all, I think you need to go trademark like now, get the domain for complacency and consistency, because I think, look, there's days that we go there really quick. And secondly, this t-shirt with the words, we could even bedazzle it maybe tie-dye. Like I see a really cool t-shirt here.
Fuck off and then figure out how to make this.
There you go. I love that. So listeners, you're not going to be part of that unless you want to invest. Maybe we could crowdsource here.
Because food business is it's a pity. One of my board members told me once, that in this business, we're squeezing pennies out of pennies. To be able to make $1. So it's such a business, but listen, it was food, so it's good.
And I think I can't think of a better place to, first of all, thank you so much for your generosity of time. And what I can tell is I can feel your curiosity. I can feel your passion. And, I always say you could say certain things, but what's your body language and nonverbal? And for my friends that are just listening and not watching it, you might actually want to watch this one on YouTube, because I feel that we're both expressive. Maybe it's the Cuban American / French Canadian going on here.
Restrain myself, by the way, because my wife said, don't do this.
And look, first of all, thank you, listeners, for investing time. Hopefully, you got a couple of great nuggets. I got so much from this conversation. We could have kept on going. And I'll thank Cut+Dry once again in the spirit of partnership. These things don't happen if you don't have someone that kind of sponsors this and invests resources, time, energy, effort. And with that said, I'm going to wish all our listeners... Just by the time they're listening to this, it'll be close to American Thanksgiving. So I'll come back full circle there.
Yep.
All right, René. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thanks. Okay. Go get him, everybody. Cheers.
This episode is brought to you by Cut+Dry, the only independently verified digital ordering platform that combines e-commerce, payments, and sales tools to help food service distributors sell over 10% more cases within a year. Here's the truth. E-commerce isn't just about going digital. It's about getting discovered. That's why, since 2009, Cut+Dry has led the industry in transforming your inventory into online custom apps that are easy to search, explore, and for your customers to uncover new products. Join us today at cutanddry.com.